So today we're talking about turning anger into a force for good, benevolent power. And I don't know about you, but I get pretty angry sometimes, even at this time of year when we're supposed to be filled with joy and peace and warmth and all the things we're told we're supposed to feel these times. Who else feels angry sometimes? Anybody else? Am I alone? Pretty much everybody. If you didn't raise your hand, maybe we can talk a little bit about it after the service. You can teach me something, I can teach you something. Yeah, I get angry a lot of the times. And has anybody else experienced regret after something they said or done after they've been angry? Yeah, me too. Lots of times. It's pretty human. It's part of the human condition. Anger is a pretty powerful emotion, isn't it? It can really energize us. Anger is often equated to fire. It feels hot, it's powerful, and it can be dangerous when it's not acknowledged and worked through in a healthy way. Like fire, anger can destroy, but it can also be harnessed for all kinds of good and useful ends. The trick is tending it carefully, mindfully. Like learning to tend fire, learning to tend our anger well takes intention, patience, and practice. It takes courage, too, and a willingness to take responsibility for what we say and do when we're angry. I believe that helping each other tend our anger in healthy ways, transforming our anger into benevolent power, is something we can do in religious community. It's something we can support each other in doing. In just a minute, I'm going to turn it over to two men who work with the GRIP Training Institute, which is an organization that helps people learn to turn rage and anger into benevolent power, into a force for good in their lives and in the world around them. GRIP stands for Guiding Rage into Power, and I have learned a lot about working with my own anger from GRIP. I first encountered GRIP in 2014 when I spent the day in San Quentin State Prison with a chaplaincy class. I was deeply moved by the work the incarcerated students were doing in the GRIP program to transform their rage and violence and pain into opportunities for healing and repair. And I know that you will be moved too. In addition to financially supporting GRIP as our Share the Plate recipient today, we can work on transforming our own anger and pain into compassion, healing, repair, and justice. When GRIP students graduate from the year-long training, they sign a pledge to become peacemakers in their communities, much like we Unitarian Universalists make covenants with each other about how we want to be with each other in our communities, in our lives, and in the world. And to what end. And there is a copy of the GRIP pledge. If you didn't get it when you came in, there's some at the back table when you leave. And I invite you all to reflect on it. It's a really powerful set of commitments. And I think we can all benefit from practicing these commitments and reflecting on what would it require of each of us individually and of us as a community if we were to practice these commitments together here at UUFRC. And so now I'm thrilled to welcome Alan Johnson, who's GRIP's development director, will tell us a little bit about GRIP, and then we'll hear from Jesse Cortes. Alan?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I feel so blessed to be here, so thank you for welcoming me. I work with GRIP, which I think, as Tovis just told you, stands for Guiding Rage into Power. And we work our mission statement is to transform violence and suffering into opportunities for healing and learning. And we do that by working with currently incarcerated people, formerly incarcerated people, their families, and survivors of violence. A little bit about, I came to GRIP in 2019. And I really came in response to the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. I was doing social justice work, but it's interesting hearing the topic today because I had my own rage. I had my own anger about what I felt from what was happening. And even though I was doing social justice work, didn't feel like I was doing enough. I had all this anger. So in some ways it feels divinely ordained. I got the opportunity to work at GRIP. And they're doing this incredible work inside with folks who are incarcerated. And I think we probably all know about the disproportionate or overpopulation of Black people in prison. So for me personally, being justice impacted, having cousins, uncles, nephews, all in prison now, it felt like the right place for me to be. But I think what I was most surprised at was the healing that was happening inside, the work to confront my own, or people's own anger, their own disenchantment. I got my own healing from. I've never been incarcerated, but I was surprised and so moved by the work that was being done. Over 1,200 men have done GRIP. Only one has ever returned back to prison. An incredible rate of men, but it's not just the data around the lack of recidivism, the heart, the compassion, the sitting in the fire to burn the ashes and to confront their violent past. And when we think about GRIP, guiding rage into power, I just share personally with you today that's been so moving for me was the healing that I got from being able to guide my rage, the rage that I felt what was happening, into what now feels like power, us being able to shift the narrative, us being able to transform lives and gain mutual healing. So I'm excited to be here with you all today, knowing I'm still trying to guide my rage into power. And I'm hoping I can speak with you more, but I want you to hear directly from Jesse Cortes, who's a GRIP graduate, and tell you a little bit more about his own story, so thank you.
Good morning. As the brother mentioned, my name is Jesse Cortes. Let me share a little bit about my testimony with the GRIP. I was incarcerated at the age of 19. I was sentenced to 49 years to life for a crime I committed at that age. It's sad to say, but as I reflect back, the way I was living, me going to prison was a natural progression of how I was living out here in society. And Tovis spoke about anger. I didn't know that I had anger issues. I didn't know that it was okay to feel anger. I didn't know how to process. So living my life out here in society before my incarceration, I was incarcerated already before being physically incarcerated. I was in a prison of my own mind. And when I got to GRIP, it was in 2017 I had heard of GRIP. And I had participated in this hearing by the panel of commissioners. It's called a consultation hearing. Up until that point, I had absolutely no hope of ever coming back out here to society. I thought I was going to die in prison. And lo and behold, revisions were made into the law, and I qualified as a youth offender to have another opportunity to be out here in society. And I remember the commissioner asked me, she was like, "Why are you in here?" Mind you, I was in solitary confinement at that time. I spent 10 years in solitary confinement. So when the commissioner asked me, "Why are you here?" I said, "I don't know, I just keep getting in trouble." She said, "Why?" And I couldn't answer the why. But she did something that, as I look back, she was giving me a gift. She said, "You need to figure out why. Have you heard of GRIP?" I said, "I've never heard of GRIP. As far as grip on the handlebars and on a bike or something like that, right? But other than that, I never heard of GRIP." So she pointed me in the direction of GRIP. And I met other people who had gone through the GRIP journey. And they were not the same people that I remember in prison. And I had to ask, like, what's the deal? And what I learned is that GRIP, it's not just curriculum, GRIP is a guide that helps men who have been traumatized, men who have been living with a substantial amount of hurt. They're going around hurting other people. It allows them a guide to educate themselves, about their own traumas. My ears perked up. When I heard that, I was like, I need GRIP. And when I was interviewed by Jocks, the founder of GRIP, he asked me, why you want to participate in this program? And one of the things that I said to him was like, man, I'm angry all day, all the time. And I know that for me, anger wasn't just anger. There was a D letter in front of that anger when I was feeling it that led to danger. And through those impulses that I had from the traumas, the trauma was manifesting itself in my behavior through violence, through criminal behavior. And until I took that exploratory look and did the work with GRIP, then I was able to come to a point of ownership, of acceptance, of making the peace with the pain that I was subjected to as a child, addressing the resentment and the anger that I had from my parents. And the more I did the work and the deeper that I went, it transformed that anger and that resentment to compassion and empathy. Because now I understood what they went through. There's no justification for what I went through, for the abuse, the neglect. But it brought me to a place of acceptance that they worked with what they had. And that allowed me to make peace with it. And something that I've been able to really embrace is that, as Alan spoke, that those that do the work in GRIP, it's rewarding, it's life-changing. It stops generational violence. Why? Because it leads to 4 things, the GRIP journey. Awareness into your traumas, gaining the understanding of how that trauma manifested in your life, and the realization of a need to disassociate from those impulses, from those thinking distortions that justified our violence. And it gives us a strength and vulnerability to be vulnerable, which is one of the greatest traits that as human beings we have, the capacity to be vulnerable. And in that capacity to be vulnerable, we're reconnecting with that fun-loving kid that used to like to do good things just for the sake of doing them, without expecting anything in return. So that is what the GRIP journey has done for me. I'm grateful to God for that. And it's why I'm out here contributing to society and its common good. It's why I'm out here getting ready to go back into San Quentin and facilitate the Spanish-speaking cycle of GRIP. Because I know the reward. I know how beneficial it is, not only to the individual, but to their families as well. Because through me, my family has also gotten some healing. My father has gotten some healing. My mother, before she passed away in 2018, had gotten some healing. So I encourage you guys. We have social media in our hands right here, in the palm of our hands. Right? You guys can access, I'm learning, you can access anything with these things, right? So look up GRIP. Check it out. Contribute to it, even if it's just your time. Because I'll tell you, there are many individuals in prison right now who I feel safer around than a lot of the people that have never been to prison. Why? Because they've done the work. And these men are going to be reintegrated into our society. Why not support something that is helping men transform that anger into power? Because these people, these men, these human beings may be living right next door to you. Do we want to contribute, or do we want to perpetuate the problem? I choose to contribute. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. God bless.